He is cute. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ask a Puppy Trainer Show. I'm Bethany. This is Sparky. And this is Georgie. It's adorable.
Georgie's just happy to be alive. He's just a happy boy.
He's like, what is this? This is weird.
So we did not get too many questions, but we decided to make our own questions of the most commonly asked questions that we get at Puppy Academy.
Yeah.
And again, welcome to Ask a Puppy Trainer Show, episode 99.
99. We're almost at 100. Oh, I missed last week. I'm so glad I didn't miss 100. That's next week. Yeah.
And guys, remember, if you ever want to post a question, you can do it in our comment section. You can do it ahead of time on our Instagram, our YouTube. You can even do it on TikTok. We try to get as many questions as we can because, as you know, we can talk fast, and we can also spend 30 minutes on one question if we really need to.
But if anyone has, that's my microphone. If anyone has any questions today, just put them in the comment section below, and we'll get to them today.
What we do request is we get age and we get breed.
Yep.
And
age and breed.
Questions like, let's say, potty training, how to do command, etc. Anything you guys want. Ricky, add that. I'm gonna say it because she added it.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Do you want to?
You give me the crazy look.
Okay. Do you want to start?
No.
Okay.
I want to just keep talking. I'm good at it. Okay. First question is, how do I know if my puppy's crate is the right size? Well, the easiest way to know is if they go in it, they can do a full circle into a down. That's usually the best way. And if they stand up tall, they aren't hitting their head. Right.
So if it was him, I'd want him to stand up and I'd look at where the crate is and I'd want the top of the crate to have just a little bit of headway for the head. I'd only want it to be a few inches in the front, a few inches in the back, room enough for them to turn around, kind of stretch a little bit, but not enough to like really pace. You can get wire crates with dividers. I think that there are some other types of crates too that come with dividers, although personally I like the more enclosed plastic.
Rufflin runs. I've
Rufflin?
seen a few from Rufflin. They're a little bit more pricey than the plastic ones, but those are the ones that people tend to like travel in their car with. They're like putting like truck beds and strap them down. They're a lot stronger crates.
Yeah. We did get a question, but I don't think it's a puppy question. My 2-year-old just got her first hotspot. Environmental allergy, any tips? Well, I guess that's not really behavioral. I mean, when it comes to hotspots, it's like there's a lot of good stuff that you can get for it. Just keep it clean. You might need to trim the area around it. Keep a cone on the dog, and you might need to use something to dry it out. There's lots of stuff that you can use for that. There's basically anything with like a tea tree oil kind of situation. If it gets bad enough, you're going to need to go to your vet, but it needs to air out and your dog not be able to have access to it. That's the main thing.
I don't think hotspots are really environmental as often as they are stress or something like that.
Well, she was talking about like allergies and they bite more.
If environmental, what tips?
Oh.
I don't think it's environmental. Personally, we have a dog who has a lot of environmental issues. Yeah, heat is a good one.
Heat. It's a big one.
If it's like allergens or like touching grass and stuff, it usually shows up as a larger rash, not one spot.
Right.
I find that hot spot tends to be an individual itch, and that's more diet.
And they bit at it and made it grow and grow.
So I would say it's diet. I would check out your diet and see if there's maybe something your dog's allergic to. I spoke to a vet like some 10 years ago, and I've talked to a lot since. And they say some 85% of puppies tend to eventually develop an allergy towards chicken by the time they hit an adult age. So it's better to switch up the protein. And if you have an older dog, you are not supposed to constantly switch your protein because they tend to have GI tract issues.
I'm trying to find, there's something that I really love to use that's sulfur based, but I always forget the name of it. We used to use it on horses, and now you can use it on cats, on anything, but it's a sulfur based product. It smells terrible, but it dries out the area really nicely. I forget what it's called though. If I remember, I'll come back.
You still feel like your dog sleep on your pillow.
All right, anyway.
Question on TikTok as well.
Official, we're going to do this one. This one popped up first, then TikTok, I'm going to get to you. How do I get my 7-month-old teacup Yorkie to stop running from me when I try to grab her after a potty break?
Stop. Okay, fine. All right. She says I'm going to be mean today. So one, it sounds like we don't have our puppy on a leash. And that's the first thing we do is we have a puppy on the leash.
If you can't recall your puppy, to a piece of food, if you haven't gotten to that point yet in your training, they're never off leash.
And I'll be honest, even if I got a puppy that does have pretty good recall, if I'm not expressly working on that recall in that area that I'm recalling them from, because grass is like crack to dogs. It smells galore. They're sniffing everything. Oh,
it's like catnip.
They're sniffing everything everywhere, and it takes a lot more. To give you an idea of how many recalls it takes, how recalls come as recalls, same thing. We've had people ask that, including the owner of Puppy Academy.
Yeah.
So come as recalls come. If you want a solid recall, it takes, oh hey bud.
He likes you.
Oh boy. It takes anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 repetitions of cum with a majority food. Oh, well, thank you. Over a short span of 2 to 4 months.
It will not take that long for you to get a simple recall.
2,000 to 3,000 repetitions over 2 to 4 months. If there's a distraction and your dog is locked into, you know what?
Distraction.
I was getting kisses. He dug into my nose for kisses.
So in 3 to 4 days, you should be able to build up enough of a recall with your dog in the house and in the backyard, unless there's a lot of distractions in the backyard to do that. So long leash on your dog, 10 to 15 minute sessions. Use their kibble rather than treats if they'll take kibble. If not, you can build food drive. That's a whole other thing. But use healthy treats if you're going to use treats. And it's just over and over to break, come. I mean, just really, really nurture that in them, and otherwise they don't get to be off leash.
Yep. Was there one more part to it?
No. Let's see. Oh yeah, over here on the TikTok. All right. First, JJ says, "Oh, I'm really scared what this looks like on YouTube because I can't see."
Every pore.
My 5-month-old puppy, well, not this light. The magic light should stop pores. Okay. My 5-month-old puppy will not stop barking at everything. So 5-month-old puppy barking at everything.
I'm curious to see if it's been nurtured at any point inside our home. Has the dog barked and we're like, hey, it's okay, because that tends to lead to more. Oh, he's checking out Dusty now. Dusty's not a fan of him. I want to know if it's been nurtured. Is he being pet at home for it? Is he being told it's okay? Because by the way, that does not tell a dog not to do it. That rewards the barking. And also, is it fear barking? Is it demand barking? Is your dog barking and running away? Is your dog barking and taking a step towards the dog? We address it in a lot of different ways. So I'm going to ask for a little bit more information on that one. Was it posted on here?
Yeah.
If you can throw us a little bit more information, we'd actually like to come back to your question, because I'm curious if your dog is barking while going forward or barking while going away. Is it inside or outside your home? Those types of things.
My goodness.
Good job, Bethany.
Are you choking on Dusty's fur that's flying everywhere?
So please give us more information. We will come back to you on that question. All right.
Nope. We have more on here.
You got more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Can you scroll down? Let me see. Hi guys. What other ways to teach a puppy drop it other than tug toys? Well, I mean, that's how you start with drop. That's how I like to start with drop it. And then once you have it with a tug toy, it becomes easier and easier with other things. If you're talking about picking up household items, that's just a no for us anyway.
Leave it, and so I think you're maybe getting leave it and drop it a little bit mixed up, because like leave it would be if there's nuance to they pick up a toy but you don't want them to have a toy. That's a leave it. But one day they're gonna,
or no,
or just a no. It depends on what you're looking for. If it's a kid's toy, then that's just a hard no. They're never gonna be able to pick up kids' toys.
No, I mean, even if my dogs go to pick up a toy and I forgot to pick them up and I don't want them to, I'm just like, nope, and I just go and pick it up and put it away.
For dog or human toy?
Either. I'm just saying it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't have to be that serious, is all I'm saying. You don't have to have drop it and out and leave it and no. You know what I mean? So it says, what if they don't like tug? So here's the thing. If they really like a ball that squeaks, you get a ball that squeaks with a rope on the end. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen any of some of the higher drive, Instagrams of, people doing sport dog work. That's how they start. The dogs are super ball driven, so that's what they want to do. They want to use a ball, and you get them with just a rope on the end. There's tons of different places online.
Chuck It has one. If you want to look at Chuck It, they have a big orange rubber ball with a rope going through the middle of it. And I think the big ball makes it a little bit easier to then get it out of the mouth too.
And so, because you have to have some sort of leverage, don't get me wrong, you can always pull out food if you want to and do that trade. That would be, one of the ways you can build a little bit more leverage is you just put usually a really low level, like kibble, like boring kibble in front of their nose, and see if they'll drop it. And then when they open their mouth, say drop it, and then you can take the toy. To me, that takes a lot more repetition than doing the body language, where I've got the toy and I'm active and I'm moving, with it. And then I freeze and the dog takes that as the cue that it's to let it go. That's what they learn much faster, even puppies. And she says, isn't it important to teach drop it or out? We're talking about drop it.
I like to also teach it with the long leash. If you're doing fetch and you want to teach it drop it off of fetch, because you said your dog doesn't do tug, and they go after the toy, they bring it back, and then it becomes the game of as you reach for it, they kind of duck and move away from you. Mm-hmm. When they bring that toy back, I put my foot on that long leash as close as I can without creating tension, because I want them to bounce back, create their own tension, take a step forward, and I give a verbal drop, and I just stand there and I kind of wait. And they get bored, they eventually drop it. I grab a treat out of my pouch, ask for a sit, and I put my other foot on the toy. I give them the food, I'll pick up the toy, give the food, and then I'll do the fetch, or I'll do the break and toss them the ball again. So that's one of the methods I use if I'm doing like fetch, and I want to drop it off of fetch. You say your dog doesn't do tug, so I'm assuming maybe it's coming off of fetch.
But here's the thing, if they don't do tug and they get a ball with a rope on it, as soon as you grab the rope, some dogs' natural inclination is to let it go, and you apply the word to the action of what they're doing, and dozens and dozens of repetitions later, you'll be able to start to say, like he said, step on the end of the leash, go to almost like you're reaching for it, because a lot of dogs do that. As soon as you grab the toy, they just let go. And so as soon as you go to reach for it, say drop it, and they're going to let go. So you're basically applying the word to the action. There's a lot of different ways to teach it. It depends on what your dog's natural inclination for the toy is. If you're talking about picking up household items, it's a little different.
It's a hard no.
It's a little different in the sense of you want your puppy to be dragging a leash around in the house, and make sure you're puppy proofing your house just like you would for a toddler. That's important. But if your kid, drops a paper towel on the floor and they pick up a paper towel and then they go into chase, you want to stay really calm and just follow your puppy until they kind of corner themselves, and do not reach for them. Instead, you step on the end of the leash like he said for fetch. But the tweak is this is more of a no. And so you're going to pick up the end of the leash and just apply some pressure straight up in the air, and the puppy will eventually spit it out. You could also, this is my personal preference, if you have a puppy under 6-7 months old in the house free, which we don't usually suggest unless you've practiced, how to teach your puppy the expectations of the house. I have a bait bag, a treat bag on me, and they're dragging around a leash. So I can walk over, step on the end of the leash, I can say, drop it, do a little bit of pressure, and then as soon as they let it go, they get food. And then I'm not done yet. Then I pick up I turn it into a training session, because it's my job to set expectations in my home with my puppy. So then I might pick up the paper towel, then I might ask for a sit from the puppy and drop it and give them another piece of food, and then walk them by the paper towel. Come, piece of food, come. And I'm really working off of that distraction. Don't just take stuff out of your dog's mouth and walk away. You can create more chase drive, play drive, and resource guarding. So, and don't grab collars. It has to be the leash. Man, we are on fire.
Specifically on collar through recall, which is something we do. We do
on
come,
flat collar.
Yeah, we do come, and then we'll put one finger under the collar without pressure. Let it go. Good food. Yeah. Well, we kind of condition collar grabs too.
Who's we?
You're a puppy cat.
Yeah, but we only do that just to get them comfortable, getting gear on and off. We don't do it continuously. If you're talking about a 6-month-old dog that is now an adolescent and getting feisty and mouthy and trying to get out of situations, if the average owner goes and grabs the collar, they're going to create a really bad association.
Yeah, you'll have to condition it first.
And continue to condition it through different stages. Did you hear what I said?
I did.
Oh, so wondering. It's not just about puppy. When they're a puppy, it's so easy to condition touch, but if you are kind of heavy-handed with collars and things like that, and which is fine, it's no big deal, but you see a little bit of this from your puppy or a little bit of mouthing, you have to work really hard to counter condition it again at a completely different stage of their puppyhood. That's so important.
Collar grabbing, like one finger, no pressure, full hand, no pressure, for about a week at Puppy Academy for the first
only
week
for the first week.
And then occasionally if we see any issues with it later on,
we have to do it again.
We'll tackle another lesson.
Yeah.
Counter condition it. It's not like you just go and grab it and then get them used to it. It tends to escalate. You counter condition it with food and training to help them understand what you want.
But that's totally different than walking up to your 5-6 month old, grabbing their flat collar and pulling stuff out of their mouth. Yeah, that's a no. don't do that. Storm says, my puppy will not go to the toilet outside. Crater Puppy Mats is the only place that he does it. We live in an apartment. Well, it's really up to you to create this transition of no more pads. And you can put a pad outside if you want. I mean, that might be what's most comfortable for the dog. But it's like you've got to make the decision of not relying on that anymore, which means more frequent outings, setting up more expectations. So if you go every 3 hours, if the puppy does, he gets to go outside every 2 hours. So you're setting for 2 weeks. You're setting up frequent expectations to get to go outside. And he doesn't have a choice. If he doesn't potty, he goes back in crate.
But the minute he has a choice, he's going to go where he's more warm, more comfortable, which is probably inside your home on that pad.
Okay.
It's 2 repetitions, so getting on a tight schedule, which you can DM us and we'll send you one as well. Do you have any more questions to go over?
Nope.
Okay. Did we get a follow-up for...
No, we didn't. No? If we miss anything, guys, like if we missed your question, just plop it down below.
Okay. I am pregnant and due in a few months. How do I introduce my puppy to my baby? Go, Bethany. Personally, in my opinion, I don't introduce puppies to babies because I actually think there needs to be a strong separation because puppies and babies don't mix very well in the beginning. It's
respect first. Mm-hmm. Once they learn respect and once they learn to be able to move away from you when you ask, you know.
You're out. Someone was mentioning about out.
Or I can just, with so much spatial pressure practice, I can just move in towards my dogs with a certain energy and they just walk away from me. Like they know that they need to get out of my way. This one's a little bit more pushy because he's older and a little more spoiled and he's a herding dog. So we have a bit of a different communication style and that's fine too. But you gotta build a relationship with your puppy turning into an adult dog before you can rely on that stuff. A puppy is just gonna see a baby as a sibling. It's gonna scratch them and it'll turn into some problematic stuff. I'll give you a perfect quick example. I'm sure he'll appreciate this. My youngest brother, we got a golden retriever for him when he was really young and it was a mistake. And that's, my parents found that out. It was a mistake. They did really good at first, but as that golden grew way faster than my youngest brother, it was jumping on him, biting at him, which is a really natural retriever thing to do. And yes, we did training with I used to show dogs and so there was training, but when the dog is just off leash and just with the family, it's kind of up to its own devices for 2 years. It's just a wild retriever unless it was on leash under control. And so what ended up happening, I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And so what ended up happening is, my youngest brother, he just opted out of this dog for a few years until his size caught up, and then they bonded and they were very, very close. He showed her and everything, but there was this period of time where he was tortured by her.
I'm staying in the barn.
Yeah, he was tortured.
So big enough.
And so, that's what we're trying to avoid. Now, you're talking about an infant. I do understand that. But it's like, what will end up happening is that infant eventually gets mobile and will probably start to torture the puppy. And the puppy will be around 1.5, 2 when that happens. And will start to bite more or maybe just, jump on, drag around. I don't know if you've ever seen those videos. One of the biggest issues with dogs is not always aggression. It's with doing zoomies in the backyard. slamming into a 1.5-year-old and cracking their head open on the pavement. You know, so it got dark real fast, didn't it? Sorry about that. But my point is we want to prevent this idea in the puppy's head that they just have all this access without any rules or boundaries, you know, to the baby. And then what happens is if you start the relationship with being able to sniff and cuddle and not with learning how to move away, then you're doing it the reverse. And so it makes it really hard for the puppy to understand, what do you mean move away from my kid? That's like my sibling. What do you mean stop doing what do you mean stop playing and grabbing the diaper? Like, it doesn't make sense to them. So just start with structure and being able to move away when asked, and being polite when coming in, and you'll be just on a much better starting point.
I like to do place, especially around baby cribs and the high chair, because I find that babies tend to drop a lot of food on the ground. They pick it up, they eat it with their hands, and they drop it on the ground, so dogs are used to laying under their feet. I just had a client who actually had to get rid of their dog because the dog was originally going by the high chair. They thought it was the cutest thing ever. And then I asked, is the baby dropping food? Well, of course the baby drops food. I said, okay, well, is the dog now beginning, as it gets older and larger, putting its nose up on the high chair? They go, yeah, he sniffs around, we thought it was cute. Like, the next step is the paws go on the high chair, and the high chair falls down. And they're like,
or
oh crap, okay.
What happened recently to a friend of mine who's a trainer to their client's dog is the doorbell rang, and the dog went woof, 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 and the high chair went flying.
Baby in it? Hopefully
yeah, baby in it. Yep, baby in it. So we don't always think about these things when we're allowing access.
What's the definition of an accident? An unplanned event. That's an accident. So you did not plan your baby to get knocked down, but they're going to, because that puppy's just wild. So it's hard. We're not.
So anyway, that's why we
on your dreams, but we're just trying to poop. You're about to deal with a lot of it. Have fun. We're just trying to help you all the information and all the facts. Are you? No, don't have Dusty jump up.
Dusty,
Ricky's gonna kill you.
Dusty, come here. Dusty, come here. Oh! I meant like right here. Okay.
All right. Do we have any more questions?
She will not. She's not here to breathe in all the fur. You are.
Thanks. Okay. I have a 4.5-month-old puppy. Oh, I can't read it with the other one behind it. I have a 4.5-month-old puppy who just completed her vaccines. Recently started going out for walks. Every time we see another dog, she loses it and barks uncontrollably. How do I make it stop? It sounds like your dog is a little bit above threshold. And what I mean by that is your dog has this threshold within their brain that when they're walking and they get near a distraction, they first tend to look and then hyper-focus and then bark or pull or lunge or try to go play with it. It doesn't matter. But you're getting too close to that distraction, the dog, before moving away and creating space. So
and potentially before you have the relationship with your puppy, where you can call them off of something like that.
Relationship is all about. So working your dog in your home around distractions that you can control. Maybe a TV program that has a dog barking on the TV program. Maybe working your dog up and down your hallway of just doing your heel and your turnarounds for food. Your let's go work turnaround for foods. All of that is the best way. And also, guys, we have an online program that's really, really awesome where we go over about 95% of what I just said of walking in the neighborhood, how to work in your home, how to work in your backyard, front yard, and then eventually the sidewalk in front of your house, and then going on an actual walk. So if you guys want some more information on that one, check out the online. But most of the time, we do things a little too quickly.
Yeah.
You should be working in your home. Next step, backyard. Next step, front yard. Next step, sidewalk in front of your house. Final step is walking around your neighborhood, but helping your dog break away from distractions before they get above threshold, and you've kind of lost the plot by then.
Think about it this way. If your puppy is sniffing a bush on your walk, and you turn, you don't pull the leash, it's like a test. Turn, don't pull the leash yet, just kind of turn and look at your puppy. They don't notice you because they're sniffing a bush. Do a verbal, let's go. And if they totally ignore you, then how in the world are they ready to see another energy like a human or a dog or a stray cat and listen to you? It's not going to happen. So you want to work at low, medium level distractions and to get that focus. And yes, we use food in those instances to build that positive association. But when it actually comes to the dog starting to be reactive, They don't care. Yeah, they don't care about food, so you can kind of put your food away and you can just be like, let's go, turn, and just start moving in the opposite direction. And then once they calm down a little bit, then you're going to continue to work them through that moment, through the rest of their anxiety, and you can start to use food when they've, kind of just gotten some space.
I will go as far as even when I do that turn, I will put the leash across my hip. My microphone is my leash across the hip. I will step back and turn. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to give her a hard time. And I will turn and move the opposite direction. I'm not pulling with my arms. You may be the strongest guy in the world.
Don't bend your elbow.
Yes, but when you use your body, your quads, your legs, that's the strongest muscles in your body. When you turn, your body language is what guides your dog away, not this give and take of bicep muscle. You're never going to overpower your dog unless they're 2 pounds.
Right.
A big dog especially, this isn't going to work. It's this, move. And you're using your whole body and your legs to create that power to drive them away from distraction.
Yep. And I would just like to say, this is a 4.5-year-old puppy, or 4.5-month-old puppy. There are so many young puppies right now that are really struggling with nerves, whether it's genetics, breeding, whatever it is, living in a city environment that's too much for their senses. That was him. We had to do a lot of work with him to be able to handle all the sensory overload of NoHo life. And so you do have to, take those things into account. Yes, this is a young puppy, but so just to kind of backtrack, I want to kind of put everybody in that perspective. Everything we said still holds, but because this is a 4.5-month-old puppy, I would probably personally we just got a little extra time here, so, because we went 5 minutes over, we're going to because we were late, I would just like to say that a 4.5-month-old puppy, if they're really struggling in the neighborhood can be so tough because there's a lot of people coming out or dogs behind fences and it's a very tight environment. If you're able, work in the house, in the yard for a week or two, give your puppy a break from the outside world because he's so young. And then try to get in your car and go to a park that's on the quieter side. Don't go on a Saturday or Sunday unless it's a time of day where there's not a lot going on. And just let the puppy breathe a little bit and be able to work more organically without a dog surprising him behind a fence. I've personally noticed, this isn't always true, but I've personally noticed that if I go to the park, I come across less reactive dogs than in a neighborhood. Okay, so that way when your puppy does see a dog, you see it from clear across the park, you have so much more room to turn, and that dog is less likely to be reactive than a dog in the neighborhood. So anyway, I hope that helps. We've really got to shape our puppies and build up as many good experiences as possible, and it sounds like your puppy's not getting that.
One more time. You said a very specific word right there.
I don't know.
Shape.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, I don't hear that very often. That's that's a really strong mental dog training word because a lot of trainers target the body. We try to target the brain because you're shaping an understanding of what you want inside and outside your home. First inside and then outside. Shaping. That's not a word we hear too often.
Do you see this? This has happened. I mean, he's always likes to be lovey and docile for a while. Not when I first got him, but as we bonded. But he just collapses on top of me ever since I've been pregnant. Yeah. Usually he'd be sitting up and kind of looking at us and being pet and enjoying it. But this whole thing has been since I got pregnant.
It's going to go away.
Yes, it is. It's going to go away. He's going to be humping and nipping their ankles. That's what he does. That's what he does to kids.
You got one more question? Let's do one more, yeah?
Yeah, sure. One more.
Okay. Not that one. Okay.
Whatever.
So I'm trying to find ones that we haven't already answered.
Whatever one you want.
Why do you not recommend dog parks for socializing? That's a very common one. Because I don't like playing Russian roulette. You're welcome.
That was mine.
It's the Russian roulette of the dog world.
Yeah.
Meaning that you might have 5 amazing, awesome experiences at the dog park, and then
or had previous dogs and never had an issue. That's what we hear all the time.
Yeah.
I've
always taken my dogs there.
Yeah.
And then you have one bad experience that shapes.
Shapes.
That's what I did there. The future of your dog's socialization.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, the dogs that tend to have a good time at dog parks tend to be the more dominant, pushy dogs.
Yeah.
Because they're a little bit more confident. My dog loved going to the dog park for about the first year because she's pushy, she's dominant, and she got attacked viciously torn apart at the dog park.
Because that confidence triggers a lot of dogs.
5-6 years of full-blown aggression as a professional dog trainer. It took everything in me to work it down, and now I feel like I've gotten to a pretty low point. But I got a little dog that makes an eye at her and growls at her. I better have a good hold on my dog.
Still
she's going for them. She's 11,
and that's because his dog is so confident and did have so much of a natural alpha dominance to her that when she went south, it went hard south. Yeah.
So obviously we're painting a really, really obvious picture, a really strong picture.
Well, I got another easier, more likely one than yours.
Yes.
So I've got a really sensitive border collie that's practically a member of the family. I see her all the time, not this one. It's a different one. And they tried taking her to the dog park to socialize her, and she's very sensitive to noises, especially, which is natural for herding dogs, or protection dogs. They're very sensitive to noise, and just so much ruckus made her more insecure, even though she was never attacked, made her more insecure rather than building her confidence. And just that alone, it took weeks of walking her and her hearing dogs barking where she wouldn't do this.
And she'd have to work her through it.
Yeah, and she was young. And the owners tried one more time, and she was not having it, and she panicked a little, kind of like jumped up and like was just like away, and that made even the nice dogs hone in on her, sniff, 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 really intrusive, and they had to get her out of there. That would have led to her being bit because she had that energy.
We have a dog that came here, graduated, and they took their dog to one of our local dog parks, but about 30 feet from our local dog park is actually a police shooting range, which not that many people know about. Yeah. And it's pretty muffled, but there's still a loud pop, 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 and sometimes rapid fire. And it happened at the dog park. And she said that she heard it, and she was like, oh, that's funny. And then she looked around, and her dog was gone. It had hopped this 8-foot fence, climbed it, scaled it, and then she found it like 6 miles later, or 6 miles away, a few hours later, when animal control finally picked it up, and it was run across main highways and streets. And I'm still working with them 3 months down the line, and they're still struggling tremendously to work this dog through any kind of dog noises, construction sounds, I guess police firing range sounds too, but any loud sound is still a fearful thing. This dog will work on it for another 1.5 years and still maybe have some fear, but work through a majority of it. It takes a long time to work a dog through fear.
That's our point.
It's better to be preventative,
that's our point,
rather than reactive.
Yeah.
Prevent by don't going to the dog park. If you have the dogs that we've mentioned, even if you have the dogs that we didn't, it's
just a bad idea, especially when they're under 2.5, 3, especially when they're in that developmental phase. Instead, you find people who have dogs, you set them up correctly, you do hikes. If you have off-leash reliability, then you've got off-leash hikes. Our beaches, we always say, do not sit with your dog.
Yes.
Keep forward motion. That's the thing, is you want to keep walking. Yeah.
At every dog beach I've ever been to, there's always this huge pack of dogs that tends to be like 30 to 50 deep, and they move across the whole beach like for miles sometimes. Don't be a part of that group.
Yeah,
you want to have like
around
a
them.
little mini group, and you want to be off to the side, and maybe you have a couple dog friends that you guys meet over there. Those dogs don't join the group, and if you don't have control over that, put a long leash on your dog.
Yeah,
they don't
and
have
work
to
them.
be off leash. Yeah, train them at the park and get a really good recall outside the park or outside the beach, and then at the beach, hopefully, it will transfer over for you guys.
Anyway, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you same time, same place next week.